Hello, I hope you are having an excellent Tuesday. Today, your assignment is just to read 3 pages of a book called Look Both Ways by Jason Reynolds. In this video, I'm just going to be reading through those 3 pages and stopping whenever you have to answer a question. You don't have to watch this video. If it's easier for you to just read the story to yourself, you're more than welcome to stop the video now and do the assignment independently. But if it's helpful to you to hear me read aloud, continue playing this video. I'll let you know when to stop and answer a question. So I'm starting with page 1. The chapter is called The Low Cuts Strike Again. All I can tell you is if you ever see John Watson, Francie Baskin, Trista Smith, or especially Britton Bit Burns, the low cuts, better wash your pockets. Those 4, they'll steal anything that jingles, even if you got them tucked and they're making too much noise. Matter of fact, they'd take the pockets out your pockets if they could. Once they walked into a convenience store, one of the ones with the dish at the front of the counter that says, "Take a penny, leave a penny," and took all the pennies, leaving no pennies. A grab and get gone. Okay, they didn't do that just once. They did that all the time. They did it so much that store owners started keeping the dish behind the register and doled out the pennies to shortchanged customers individually. Other times, Bit, Francie, John, and Trista would challenge people to quarter wars, which is when 2 people stand quarters up on a desk or a table and spin them like spinning tops. Whichever quarter knocks the other quarter over or lasts the longest wins. But the rules don't really matter to this crew. The opponent's corner was getting pinched or the opponent was getting punched, and 25 cents ain't worth a swole up eye. But the low cuts don't just take to be taken. They don't steal for fun. Actually, they don't even like doing it. But they do it because they have to. At least they feel like they have to. Before they named themselves the Low Cuts, they were part of another set that they had no choice but to be down with. The Free Lunchers. Sounded much cooler than it was. It didn't mean they got free lunch because they were special, or because they were popular and loved so much that the school cafeteria offered them mozzarella sticks and crinkle-cut fries on the house. Instead, what it meant was their parents were tight, hard up, squeezed, strapped. Their folks didn't have any extra scratch to give for the itch of hunger. No lunch money. And that was true for each of the low cuts. It wasn't something they were proud of or something they were ashamed of either, even though other kids tried to make them feel a way about it. Yo, if I give you my pizza crust every day and you save it up, you'll have a whole loaf of bread by the end of the school year, was a joke told by a kid named Andrew Knotts, who, after Bit heard it, let's just say Andrew never cracked those kinds of jokes again. For the record, Bit, John, Francie, and Trista weren't the only free lunchers, but they were the only free lunchers with parents who were cancer survivors. They'd been put together in an in-school support group run by the guidance counselor, Miss Lane. Sitting in a circle, passing a tissue box back and forth, talking about how hard it is to watch your parents skinny up, watch their hair thin and fall out. Okay. On that page, we learned quite a bit about this group called the Low Cuts. What I want you to do now is pause the video, write a 1-sentence summary of page 1, and then come back, keep watching when you have finished your 1-sentence summary. Pause now, write that 1-sentence summary of page 1. Okay, I'm glad you're back. Just a quick reminder, because I forgot to say this at the beginning of the video, make sure you're following along with me as I read. Don't just listen and watch the video, follow along in the text. That'll help you develop the best understanding of the story. But picking up at the top of page 2 of Look Both Ways. Watch their bodies turn disloyal. How scary it was to think about whether or not their mothers and fathers were going to live, and if not, how they were all going to live without them. What the 4 of them never talked about was how all the surgeries and treatments were what knocked everything in their lives and their parents' lives off track financially. It was where all the money went. That wasn't Miss Lane's job to bring that up, not part of the kumbaya circles that Bit pretended to be too tough for. And the truth is, they wouldn't have known any of this if Bit's mother hadn't told them all her business. But she did. And Bit told that business to the others. And the others asked their parents if it was true. "That's not for you to worry about," John's mother said. "Breast cancer." "Who told you that?" Francie's father asked. "Prostate cancer." We don't want to lie to you," Trista's father explained. "Stomach cancer." True, true, true. And it was this, not the cancer, but the strain it put on everyone, that formed the Low Cuts. They all cut their hair down to almost bald, a sign of solidarity, and started stealing. There was only one rule. Only take loose change. No dollars, no jewelry, no wallets, only change. Usually they used it for extras at lunch. Today, it was for something else. The sound of the bell ringing, signaling the end of the day, might as well have been a starter pistol or an air horn, something to make the low-cuts go. And go they did. They burst from their classes, Bit and Trista from English, John from math, and Francie from Spanish class. After stopping at their locker, swapping books, packing bags, they burst from the school and gathered at the meeting place. There were 3 benches to the right of the double doors. The first was being babysat by some boy in a uniform, holding a broken skateboard across his lap, stroking it like a hurt dog. The second was occupied by Gregory Pitts and his friends, swatting their arms through a cloud of body spray that smelled like cinnamon if cinnamon smelled like garlic. And the third bench was where the low-cuts always met, a base chosen by Bit. Bit was the tiniest person in their crew, and the obvious leader. He was always going on and on about how his growth spurt was going to come soon, and then he'd be the tallest, but nobody believed him. And even though Bit was half the size of his friends, he was the biggest when it came to confidence, and when it came to temper. He was known for knocking people out. There was a kid named Trey who was picking on John, calling him an old man because John had a patch of gray hair in the front of his head. He was born with it, a birthmark, teased for it his whole life. Funny thing was, the gray patch, when cut low, looked more like a ringworm and would have made for better jokes, which were the jokes Bit would have cracked if John weren't his low-cut brother. But Trey wasn't that sharp. John, you was born a senior citizen, Trey said. John, you look like you getting ready to retire from middle school, Trey said. Okay, that's the end of page 2. Again, I want you to pause the video, write a 1-sentence summary of page 2, and come back when you're ready to continue reading. Pause here, write your 1-sentence summary. All right, great. At this point, you should have your 1-sentence summary of page 1 and your 1-sentence summary of page 2. I'm moving on and continuing to read at the top of page 3. John, soon you're gonna need a walker to be a walker, Trey said. John, that was the last John, Trey spoke before Bit's fist went in his mouth so fast it knocked him out in the middle of the crosswalk. Thankfully, the crossing guard, Miss Post, was there to wake Trey up, and while she was helping, Bit took off running. He'd done the same for Francie when boys were picking on her for having short hair, calling her Frankie, but she never paid them no mind. It never really bothered her. Francie always had a way of ignoring that kind of thing, the bigger person and all. But not Bit. Bit would knock heads, no question, and if no one was around, he'd pat their pockets after putting them to sleep, but only for loose change, of course. Trista wasn't the type who needed any kind of puff-up from Bit. She was the kind of girl nobody messed with. Nobody. She could slice you to slivers with 1 sentence. Plus, she was a daddy's girl, and he raised her up in martial arts. Taekwondo Trista. Everyone had seen her do a roundhouse kick at a school talent show, and that was enough for no one to ever try her, including Bit. The 4 of them together were the kids teachers were concerned about, the ones they talked trash about in the teacher's lounge, the ones they marked as at risk. They were the ones Miss Walkley would wag her finger and shake her hat at whenever they walked down the hall or sat together and had secret meetings at lunch. The way they were, a breed of brilliance and bravado, concerned everyone. Everybody ready? Bit asked, 1 foot on the bench, huddling everyone up. Trista was the only one not paying attention. She was talking to a boy who responded awkwardly, like he was scared or something. No surprise. Trista, Bit shot her a look. Ready, Trista joined the fold, slipping her phone from her back pocket to check the time. It's 3:16. Truck comes in an hour, Francie announced. Let's see how much we got, John said, opening his hand. Some dimes, a nickel. Everyone else dug in their pockets and dropped their findings into John's cupped palm. A few more nickels, some found in the change slots of the lunchroom vending machines, others found deep in the pockets of unsuspecting skinny boys wearing unforgiving skinny jeans. Quite a few pennies found swept into the corner by Mr. Munch, the school's janitor. These had to be sifted out from dust bunnies, gum wrappers, and hair ties. Nickels and dimes swiped from teachers' desks, only from the top, never from the drawers. No quarters on this run, unfortunately. Trista moved the change around with her finger, counting. 70, 80, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90? Bit asked, his eyes darting from John's palm to the double doors. Miss Walkley was always too close for comfort. Yeah, only 90 cents, Trista confirmed, counting it all again. She turned to Bit, who was rocking back and forth, anxious. Think that's enough? Okay, so that is the end of page 3 and the end of your reading for today. I'm going to close out this video, and when the video ends, you can write your 1-sentence summary for page 3. Once you finish your 1-sentence summary for page 3, you are all done for the day. You can click submit on that Google form and turn in on your Google Classroom assignment, and you have completed your work. Thank you for putting the hard work in today. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can call or text me at the number on the Google Doc. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.